When it comes to marriage, right? The legal way to tell someone that you really love them. That's the way that I see it. Um, and it's not just because people think that it's the best way of showing that you really love that person, but it's just what generations and after generation have come into. Is like when you get married, it's based off because you love that person, that you are willing to do whatever it takes to be with that person, right? Because when you do sign that piece of paper, and yes, I am calling it a piece of paper because that's what it is, but when it comes to the government, it's not like that. Jumping into marriage is one of the biggest steps that you can ever make, besides pretty much buying a house, right? All the documents you have to fill out, and knowing the consequences of being married changes everything in perspective. When it comes to females, of course, they want to show it off, man. I mean, what females don't want to show off, and especially a ring, and the wedding and everything else. Now, I don't disagree with marriage. I can never say that I will never get married, because that's just bullshit. I'm lying to myself. What I'm trying to get out here is that if you do get into marriage, make sure you've been with the person for X amount of years, knowing that how that person is. Yes, you can find love and be in love, to be honest, even in a year from now with somebody, by you meeting that person. But that doesn't mean you have to take it to the next step where you have to get married. Even as far as having a kid, I respect that. You've been together for a year and you guys are all both grown and know what you want. If you want to decide to have a kid, have a kid. Child support, I support that 1,000%, because at the end of the day, the father's supposed to be there, whether because sometimes as far as a man, some guys could be dickheads. That's why when it comes to females as well, when it comes to that, bringing that topic, is that why would you jump into having a relationship or having a kid with somebody that their income is not there, just in case, God forbid, something was to ever happen. But that's another topic I will bring up. But as far as marriage, man, like, yes, both, because I can't just say a female and not say a guy. If you're superly happy with that other person, that's a significant other, the next step is to get married before even having a kid. That's just the religious way of doing things. Now, does it happen like that all the time? Not at all. You know what I mean? But it's just something to get involved with, and to know what you're getting into before you get into it. It's not just jumping into it because I'm happy with this person, and I feel like, what, getting married is gonna make us even more happier, and that's just bullshit. You don't have to get married in order to have a kid. You don't have to get married in order to buy a house together. And those are things that people are not understanding. They think that just because, oh, we're married, now we could just do whatever we want, and it's not like that. Because I can guarantee you this: most of the people that do get married, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later pass, and it's just back to normal, back to probably even arguments even worse than before when they were married. You know what I mean? Because now you guys are tied in together, so it's not just, oh, you know what, I can't be with you, whatever it is. Now you guys are tied in. Now it changes everything. The ball game changes completely. So in that perspective, it is good to really realize and analyze things before jumping into marriage. You cannot compare. If someone that's 60 years old right now, right, tells me, well, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not married, and I'm married, and I've been happily married for 20 years, and this guy's 60 something years old. That was 40 years ago. And not back in the 80s or 70s, marriage probably was a thing and was amazing. But nowadays, because of social media, and I'm guaranteed blaming social media, it has a big role when it comes to it, is because now you get into argument with your spouse, right? Or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, right? If a click on a button, you could argue with them while you at work. Click on the button, you could be talking to somebody else, and now the person's gonna be entertaining you, right? And back in the day, it wasn't like that. Back in the day, you would have to wait hours before you get back home and you see the person in person, and you guys sit down. By that time, the person just probably cooled off and be like, let's just talk it out. But nowadays, it's not like that. Nowadays, it's just arguments on top of arguments on top of arguments. And like I said before, not that I disagree when it comes to marriage. It's a beautiful thing to get married and to having that person, because at the end of the day, having your family and her family side in that wedding is just probably one of the best feelings ever. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's just getting into marriage, really, know what you're getting into before anything. Don't just think that, oh, you know what, I'm gonna get married because it's gonna work. It's gonna benefit us as far as taxes. Or something like that. The whole process of splitting up and everything else, I can only imagine how much of a headache that is. And if you look it up, 50% of marriages, they end up in a train wreck. you know, and that's just a show. That's a bad view when it comes to that, you know. And on top of that, 70 to 75% are females are the ones that, you know, break the marriage. You know what I mean? And it just shows from there as well, you know. So it's like before you get into marriage, you know, really get to know that person for who they are, and of course know what you're getting into when it comes to being married, you know. As far as religions, as far as you know, your family relatives telling you need to get married, or you feel like you need to get married in order to have a kid. You don't. I wouldn't follow that. You know, I will follow, of course, my heart, but I will know that I will 1,000% know that this is the person for me, and I've been with this person for X amount of years in order for me to jump to that step.